What's up, everybody? Thanks again for stopping by for another edition of March 4th with Mike Bauman. I, of course, am your host, Mike Bauman. Whoever you are, wherever you are listening from, thank you so much for checking out the podcast. If you're a returning listener, I greatly appreciate your continued love and support. And if you're a brand new listener of the show, man, thank you so much for hopping aboard that pirate ship. You can follow me on Instagram at March 4th Pod, on YouTube at March 4th Pod. My website is march4th.podbean.com. The link tree with all of my stuff is in the podcast description for this episode. So if you made it here, that means you found us somehow. And I truly appreciate each and every one of you checking out another edition of the March 4th with Mike Bauman podcast. As this episode is releasing, we are in the thick of the holiday season. Christmas is upon us, so I just want to say to everyone out there, to you and yours, and all your loved ones, family, friends, significant others, pets, whatever it is, happy holidays to you and yours, whatever it is that you celebrate. I myself am looking forward to getting home for Christmas and seeing some family, some friends, getting some much needed R&R. This is always a really busy time of the year for me with my day job and the financial end of things and supply chain and in the healthcare industry. So finishing up some busy weeks at work, and then I'll get a chance to go home and eat way too much, have some Christmas cookies, watch some movies, the classics. But I would say top tree for me are Scrooged, Christmas Vacation, absolute classic, and then I would probably say How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Well, yeah, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Top five would be both of the Home Alones, obviously. I can't believe I had a brain fart on the friggin' Home Alone movies, man. But classics, in no uncertain order, but probably put Scrooged at the top. But yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to getting home for Christmas and seeing everybody. And that's really what this year is all about, man. It's about spending time with the ones that you love and being in a giving mood. And speaking of being in a giving mood, um, it was a crazy week for me this past week. As this is hitting y'all's eardrums, some of you may be aware, some of you may not be aware, but we had a tornado come through the Nashville area, and tragically, 6 people passed away. And it was the closest call that I ever had. It hit literally less than a mile from my home. And it was pretty gnarly. It rained really hard for a couple of minutes. Then it got eerily quiet. Then the power went out, everything went black. It was pitch black outside. I mean, it was really tripped out. And then the rain started to come back heavy again. And I was able to catch the news right as everything was happening before the power went out. And it looked like the trajectory of the tornado was actually headed a little south and then east of me. So it was pretty gnarly when it started to rain really hard again because I thought, man, I thought this thing was going the other way. So it was too close for comfort, but I'm very, very fortunate that I ended up being okay. All of my property ended up being okay, but there were other people, like I mentioned, who were not as fortunate as me. So I would just ask that you please keep the families and the loved ones of the people who lost their loved ones in your thoughts and prayers, man, because it's devastating. It's never a good time to die, but especially right before Christmas like this and right in the thick of the holiday season, man, it's awful. And the devastation, like I said, right down the street. I got my hair cut at 2:30 p.m. that day, and 2.5 hours later, the tornado hit my barber shop. And I'm actually going to put the link to their GoFundMe in my podcast description for this episode because I love those guys so much over there. Shout out Ambria and her husband Silas and the owners and everybody who works there, man. Thankfully, everybody ended up being okay. They were all able to get into the basement before the tornado hit, but I mean, it really messed up the shop really bad. It blew out the windows. I think a transformer right by it exploded. It did damage to the roof. And like I said, thankfully, everybody there ended up being okay. Nobody was hurt, but the shop got really, really messed up, man. So it's just surreal to think, 2 hours earlier, I was sitting in one of those chairs getting my hair cut, and then, boom, they get hit. So yeah, it definitely shook me, and it just made me appreciate life, and the fact that I ended up being okay. Like I've had moments before in my life that have reminded me of how fragile it is, but that's the like I said, that's the closest I've ever come to a tornado, and the fact that it was, right down the street from me where there was a lot of damage done. It's just it's very surreal. So I feel very lucky to be here. I feel lucky to be okay. Things can be replaced, and it sucks when things get damaged, especially doing this podcast. If my computer got messed up, and you think about some of your more, prized possessions, whether they're monetarily valuable or not, or if they have sentimental value to you, like, there's that stuff, at the end of the day, stuff is stuff, even though it stinks to lose things like that. But I just feel really lucky to be here, man. And like I said, it shook me a little bit, but if anything, it's a reminder of to just keep on trucking, man, and to not take any day that you have for granted, to make the most of your time while you're here. Don't be afraid to take chances on things that you love or things that you want to pursue. And so it was scary, but I'm alive. I'm here. I'm doing another podcast, and I wouldn't be here without all of you too, who listen to the show and support the show and tell your friends about it and like and subscribe and share. All of that stuff goes a long way and help, getting the word out about the show. And even today, checking out the Spotify statistics, and I try really hard not to live my life by numbers and in comparison, because there's always failure in comparison. I digress, but there's been 60% more listeners on Spotify alone this year than there were last year, because the show, you can get it on, all the major platforms. And again, like I said a few minutes ago, you're here, so you found me somehow. But Spotify alone had 60% more listeners, and more than 80% of the listeners this year on Spotify were brand new to the show, which is really cool. That people are finding me. So I wouldn't be here without all of you supporting me as well, and helping share these conversations about persevering and moving forward, and putting people on to new music that maybe they weren't aware of previously. So I love you all. I thank you all. And like I say on every show, keep the faith and be kind to one another. It takes on even more importance as I look at a picture of my grandfather and my grandmother right now. And that was something my grandpa always used to write and say, man, like, it's life is fragile, y'all. So hug your loved ones, and be good to each other, man. And speaking of being good to each other and speaking of taking chances, this week's episode is a return guest. She's very talented. She's very kind. She's very humble. She's very creative. And I think she is just starting to scratch the surface of her potential and what she can do in the music industry, man. She is none other than Ali Slater. And if you love pop punk, if you love emo, you will love her sound. Her EP Lucid came out last April, and that's the last time we spoke. And at the time, she was doing the podcast from California, but she was still living in New York. Now she has relocated to California since we talked the last time, and she's making some moves, y'all. She's making some moves. She played her first show ever. How about this? And we talk about this on the show, so I'm not going to give too much away in this intro, but she played her first show ever on November 9th at the Whiskey A Go Go, the famed Whiskey A Go Go. How cool is that? And in addition to that, her cover of Hilary Duff's Come Clean was part of Ghost Killer Entertainment's Pop Goes Hardcore Volume 2. That came out on September 29th. There was also a music video as part of that release, which is really sick. And she's showing off her new alter egos in her socials and in the music video, and so I'm just really stoked for her, man. And in this conversation, we talk about where she's going with her music, and how she's got some really cool irons in the fire, and how mental health is a big part of that. So I'm not gonna gab too much more here in the intro, but it was really cool to catch up with her. I have a lot of respect for people who are talented like her, but also humble and funny. And as you guys will hear, somebody who's going through, mental health struggles, like so many of us do. And that's what's so important about, talking about these things, is that I think for a long time there's been a stigma attached. Whoever you are out there, I mean, we all struggle, man. And when you have a platform where you can speak about these things, and I've spoken openly on here about my struggles with anxiety, and my obsessive compulsive issues that I deal with. And anxiety is something that I've struggled with my whole life, and I have a great therapist, I have a great support system, and I've worked really hard over these past couple of years to work through a lot of the negative aspects of myself, and those things that hinder me. I digress. But Ali opens up on this conversation about, you know, her mental health struggles, but how she's channeling that into her music and how she wants to reach people in a positive way in doing so. So without further ado, I'm going to shut my big yapper and give you guys my conversation with Ali Slater. Here it is. Well, Allie, it's great to get you back on. It's been a minute, but I know you've been working on new stuff, and you're out in LA now, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's been cool to keep up with you from a distance, and it was fun
Yeah,
talking the first time. So when I saw that you put out the cover of Come Clean, I was like, if she wants to come back on, I got to get her back on, man. So thank you for coming back.
I'm available. Thank you for having me.
Well, let's just start. I didn't realize that your first show ever. I mean, going back and listening to the first time we talked, I know that I think you said it was in music camp when you were like 15 or something, and they put you in like the School of Rock crowd, and that was kind of like your crash course. And hey, everybody, what's up? But the Whiskey a Go Go is that's your first Ali Slater show, and it's at the
Yeah,
Whiskey a Go Go. That's pretty
pretty
awesome.
iconic. I know. I I love that I'm able to say that. Like my first show as frontman Ali Slater was at the Whiskey Go Go. I I love saying it. It's really cool.
So to bring people up to speed, the last time we talked, you were in LA, but you were living in New York at the time. So since we've talked,
Mhm.
it's been about a year and a half. You've moved to LA. Uh,
Mhm.
how does this Whiskey a Go Go show come about? How does this happen?
Um, Honestly, it's not that crazy of a story. I started putting out Well, I put out the teasers for the Come Clean release, and my videographer who did it, he also started to promote it. And one of the booking agents who works at the Whiskey follows him. So he found me through my videographer, reached out and said, "Hey, I listened to your cover, I saw your video, saw it through Zach, and you're awesome, and we'd love to book you for the Whiskey. Here's the date, here are the other artists. Let me know if you're interested or available." And when I saw that, I like froze. I was at work. I'm like, this is fake. This is a scam because he reached out to me through Instagram. Like I found him in my request folder. I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, the Whiskey A Go Go's reaching out to me to perform, but I did some background checks and it was legit.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah.
Is it Zach Perez? That's who did the video, right?
Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
job.
he's awesome. He did both of my photo shoots as well. Uh the I the Hallie and Missy one, the clown and the dark goddess one. So that was kind of me testing the waters, see how we'd work together because he's primarily a videographer. I'm like, all right, let's see how we do with some photo shoots. And he killed it. He understood the vision and we went through with Come Clean video.
Turned out awesome, man. I liked the dangling lights and the different lights that were used in the video. That was really cool. And it was kind of almost like a which I feel like is your vibe too. It kind of had like that dreamy kind of like I didn't I mean I are you a fan of horror? Fan of horror and like okay. I feel like I mean yeah, I'm asking the question, but
Lashes, these lashes alone are called horror lashes.
okay. I didn't want to assume, but I'm like it definitely had that kind of darker sort of
Yeah,
like a nightmare vibe. It wasn't like, but like almost like a dream type vibe to the music that you listen.
yeah, definitely.
So
Nailed
yeah, because you got the purple hair now, because you were rocking the red hair for a long time, but the
I know
purple hair.
I was red and then I was pink and then I was pink and blue recently. And now I'm like, all right, this we have to go dark now. This has been my favorite color.
Looks good, man. And you also have, I mean, people can't see this because I'm just audio only right
Oh
now.
yeah, this.
Yeah, you got the eyebrow highlight going on.
Yeah, so that's actually natural. I've been covering it up for years because I was so insecure about it. I have vitiligo. So this half of my face actually doesn't have any pigment, but because I fear the sun, you can't tell. I am so white that you can't tell that this half of my face is pure white. So my eyelashes and this part of my eyebrow are actually white because I don't have pigment there. So when we spoke, I would cover it up with makeup, and I'm just embracing it now. Just I'm making it white, living it.
I think it's cool. You gotta be comfortable in your own skin and do what makes you feel comfortable. And we talked about that a lot the last time too. Like listening back on the episode before doing this, because I didn't want to repeat myself. But also it was cool to revisit it, man. And we went pretty deep on that one, and you gave people a lot of background of what you came from, both the good and the bad of who you are. So I think it's really cool to see you kind of just step into that even more, man. Because you might start a new trend with that. I have not seen that before. So I was like, I'm
Really?
there.
I've seen one other person do it on, they were featured on one beauty account. I forget what it was because I worked in corporate beauty and marketing. So I did all the social media, and I think it was Anastasia Beverly Hills. I'm like, I have that. I have that too. Are people normalizing this now?
That's
So yeah,
awesome.
hope
I
I
didn't have
started.
till I was like, I mean, I had them, but they were very blonde. I had like when I was a kid, my brother and I, one of my brothers, we both had it wasn't like white, but we had very blonde hair. And like the
Uh-huh.
my eyelashes have a little blonde in them, but like it looked like I was surprised all the time because no brown in my eyebrows, so I started to get a little bit older. So yeah, and I was cross-eyed, man. I had to wear glasses till I was like glasses are cool now. It's like a fashion statement now, but they weren't cool in the 90s when I was a kid. And
They were not cool when I was growing up either.
I looked like Elton John in my kindergarten photo. I looked like an old lady in my preschool photo because I had like the thick lenses.
That's
Uh
incredible.
and I used to have to wear a patch at certain times to make the other eye stronger. So I would try to make it look cool and put like a skull and crossbones on it. I
Oh,
It helped. And I had like the Dwight Schrute parted down the middle
whoa,
hair. You can find that.
iconic.
I think that's on Instagram. So no, you got to embrace. And I'm also very like incredibly like very pale. I definitely got more of the Irish genes from my mom. You wouldn't know looking at me that I have a little Greek blood in me, but I do on my dad's side, and that must be like super recessive.
Oh.
I don't have the tall, dark, and handsome. I'm like tall, pasty, gangly, and goofy. So yeah.
You know what? That's a lot of people's types.
Hey, well, yeah, maybe she's out there somewhere. I guess we'll see.
Oh
Too
yeah,
bad.
I'm all for the pale spaghetti noodle boys. That's my type.
So the Come Clean cover was really awesome.
Yes.
I thought you guys did a great job on that. Hilary Duff for everybody listening, but you teamed up with Ghost Killer Entertainment for their Pop Goes Hardcore Volume 2.
Yeah.
How did that song come together? Like for that, did you guys bring that to them, or did they say, "Hey, we want you to try this out"? How did that work?
Well, Zach, who runs, who is Ghost Killer, he's a good buddy of mine. For my first release, we became best buds. I really do appreciate having him as a friend. He's such a sweetheart. So whenever I'm working on things, I talk to him about it, and he's like, "Well, do you want a spot on the new Pop Goes Punk whatever album I'm doing?" I'm like, "Yeah." Obviously, yes, thank you for offering me. I'd love to be on it, thank you. And well, I also kind of like threw it in there, so it was like a mutual, hey, let's let can I be can I be on it? So it worked out that way. What I'm doing with the cover though, this hasn't been announced yet, but I'm happy to tell you, I'm kind of doing a nostalgia cover series. So I started with Come Clean because it's a banger and I thought that'd get a ton of attention, but I do have 3 other covers done from that era. So I'm doing a bunch of early 2000s and maybe throwing in some 2010s in there because I'm realizing that that was also over a decade ago, and that makes me very sad for how old I am. So the fact that 2010 is nostalgic is blowing my mind, but I am going to be doing a nostalgia cover series.
Nice, nice. Because that one turned out awesome. I love the guitar work in it, and even at the very last part, you go up like another. I mean, I'm not. like musically versed, and I know you are, so you can feel free to correct me, but like you went up like another octave at the end. It was cool. You were in like
Yeah,
another
I did a fat key change. That's something that people don't really do anymore. Like I love those big ending chorus modulations that they would do. Ugh, I hate saying like back in the day. Nobody really does it anymore, and it's really in a lot of that music. And Hilary Duff didn't do it in Come Clean, but we had done a draft of it, and I'm like, no, I'm bored. I need more from this. And I said to the producer, I'm like, don't kill me, but can we modulate up a whole step? And he's like, no, that's a great idea. I'm not mad at you. And he's actually the producer out in Nashville. Um, he killed it. He did such a good job with it.
Yeah, it turned out awesome, and it was a cool release, I think, after Lucid, because the first time we talked um about the the musical direction and then what you were working on after that, you mentioned that the second batch of songs for the next EP or record were going to be more mental health focused. Is that still the case?
That is still the case. I am going to be wrapping up that record soon, and I hope to be releasing it in 2024. I'm just securing some features for it, for exposure and networking and marketing purposes. But it is going to be, so far, we have 6 songs, and it is all mental health focused. I'm glad I said that back then and stuck to it. Yeah, that is the plan. It is going to be a lot of mental health. This is my mental health awareness